Lexi Talley, and this is my speech on One Direction. I'm going to play one of their most famous song, What Makes You Beautiful, while my dad scans the room with the iPad to show you my audience.
Garrett, Shelby, me, and Mom.
Okay, so that's one of their most famous songs. So Katy Perry, 65 million, Justin Bieber, 60 million, Barack Obama, 55 million, Taylor Swift, 52 million, and Lady Gaga, 44 million. That's how many followers these top 5 celebrities have on a famous social network called Twitter, but none of them compare to the sheer amount of followers that one boy band has as a whole. 118 million followers follow the boy band One Direction. So, I would like to exhibit some of the main aspects of the band's worldwide success. And some of my main points are going to be who is One Direction and how did they rise to fame, the successes of their albums as well as the successes of their tours and the awards that they've won in the last 4 years. So first we're going to start off by talking about each of the boys individually as well as how they were formed as a group. So Harry Styles, he is one of the main members of One Direction. If you say Harry Styles, a lot of people will know who you're talking about. He's 21 years old and he lives in Holmes Chapel, England. He's one of the youngest members of One Direction. He's actually known for dating Taylor Swift. He's behind a lot of the success she's had with her last 2 albums because he's known as the one that broke her heart. Liam Payne is the 22-year-old in One Direction. He's from Wolverhampton, England. He's known as Daddy Directioner because he's the one that keeps all the boys in line. Zayn Malik is one of the older members of One Direction from Bradford, England. He's a more serious, quiet type, but he's actually one of the most talented ones in the group. He's known for the high notes that he's got. His range is incredible. Louis Tomlinson, he's my favorite one in One Direction. He's actually the oldest, and he's 23 years old. He's from Doncaster, England, and he's the goofy one in the group. He's usually seen with fans taking pictures where he's cross-eyed or making goofy faces. And he's really funny on stage with his best friend in the group, Niall Horan, who is this blonde one. He is the only Irish one in the group, and he's actually one of the youngest members. He just turned 21 last year, and he is the only blonde one in the group as well. He's from Mullingar, Ireland, and my little sister and I actually met him 2 years ago when they were out here on their Take Me Home tour. We stood outside their hotel for about 18 hours, and he ended up coming out with one of his security guards, and we got to take pictures and talk to him for a little bit, and there was only about 50 of us, so it was pretty cool. The boys were put together on X Factor. They all auditioned as solo artists, but they didn't make it through the boot camp round. But right before they got sent home, Simon Cowell decided that they were too valuable to lose, and so he put them together to go through the X Factor as a group. And they actually made it to the last episode of the X Factor, and they got 3rd place, which is kind of crazy because everybody thinks that they won because of how popular they are. But the 2 acts that actually beat them on the X Factor aren't making music anymore, but they're the only ones that have been so successful. And that's because Simon, the day after they got kicked off of the X Factor, he signed them to Psycho Records, which is a branch of Sony. And he attributes most of their success to social media. And this is one of his quotes about One Direction. For the music business, social networking is brilliant. Just when you think it's doom and gloom and you have to spend millions of pounds on marketing and this and that, you have this amazing thing now called fan power. The whole world is linked through a laptop. It's amazing and it's free. So essentially what he's saying is that the boys can give a lot of their success to their fans through following them on Twitter and through watching their YouTube videos. And they're also pretty popular through this thing, this online marketing campaign called 1D Cyberpunk. It was mostly for the UK fans to unlock some of the band's songs that haven't quite been released yet, and it got leaked to the US, and the US fans got to play a part in that as well, which made their fan base a lot larger than just the UK. So now that we've talked about how they were formed and who they are kind of as a band, we're going to talk about the albums that have been released over the last 4 years. Up All Night was their first album that they released in 2011. This was their pop rock, dance pop type of album. It debuted at #1, and What Makes You Beautiful, the song that I played at the beginning of this speech, is the most pre-ordered Sony single in history. It hasn't been beat to date, and it won Brit Award for the best single. Up All Night is known mostly for their most boy bandish sounding CD. Very fun, very pop. You can dance along to it. Take Me Home is their album that was released in 2012. This one's known for more of a metronomic pop sound, a lot of synthesizers and a lot of guitar riffs. The synthesizers just make it sound more techno, whereas the guitar riffs are really repetitive and makes the beat more fun to dance around to. This album actually topped the charts in over 35 countries, and it made them the first boy band in history to release a second album at #1 in the same calendar year. Live While We're Young is one of the most famous songs from this album, and it broke the viewer record on Vivo, which is another branch of YouTube. It broke the record for the most views in 24 hours, and they actually had to shut down the site for a couple hours because there was so much activity that their servers couldn't handle it. And Little Things, which is another popular song off this album, was their first platinum single that they've had. Their third album, Midnight Memories, is their slightly rockier album, and it's also one of their most popular ones. They're praised for their lyrical depth and band involvement in this album. The lyrical depth just means that they talk more about life instead of just having fun. And the band involvement talks about how all 5 of them actually co-wrote some of the songs, with Louie and Liam actually co-writing almost every song on the album. This one was the fastest selling record in Amazon UK history, and even though it was released in November 2013, it was still the best selling album of 2013, even though it only had about a month and a half in the charts. And then it also reached #1 in over 19 countries in a little over a month. And their most recent album, 4, which was just released last November, was #1 in over 18 countries in a little over a month and a half, and it top charted to date over 67 countries. And this album was their 4th album to hit Billboard Top 100 #1, making One Direction the first boy band in history to have their first 4 studio albums released at #1. So now that we've kind of gone over their music and what they've released over the past 4 years, we're going to talk about their tours that they've gone on in the time that they've been a band. So Up All Night Tour was their first tour that started in 2012. This was just mostly theaters and small venues around the UK and Ireland. They didn't come to the US for this tour, but there was over 60 shows in Europe. And these venues only hosted about a couple thousand people a concert, but they still sold out all of them. Take Me Home Tour was in 2013, which was an arena tour with about over 20,000 fans in an arena, and they sold out this entire tour in about 15 minutes. And so it just kind of goes to show how much they grew in a year from only touring in the UK to going to over 20,000 fans in an arena in 2013. And these are actually pictures, I don't know if you can see them very well, from the concert that I went to at the Pepsi Center in Denver in 2013. It just kind of shows you how big the stage was compared to the last one. And then the Where We Are tour was their most recent tour in 2014. This was a stadium tour, so about 80,000 plus fans per arena that they did. They actually had a sponsor during this tour, and it was Nabisco, the people that make Ritz crackers. So they made quite a bit of money off of their sponsor as well. And this tour had 3 legs, meaning that they toured in North America, Europe, and in Asia as well. And over 65 shows. And 5 Seconds of Summer opened for them in the Where We Are tour as well as the Take Me Home tour. And they're headlining their own tour this year, which just goes to show how big One Direction made 5 Seconds of Summer. And then their tour that starts this year is the On the Road Again tour. This is arenas and stadiums, so they got to do a mix between the two. And as of right now, there's only 51 shows, but they're known to add more as the dates sell out. And so now we're going to talk about the awards that they've won over the 4 years that they've been a band. So over the 4 years that they have been around, I guess, they've won 5 AMAs, 4 Brit Awards, 4 MTV Music Awards, 3 People's Choice Awards, 18 Teen Choice Awards, 3 Billboard Music Awards, and they've broken 3 Guinness Book of World Records, and they've also released 2 movies. One of the movies being One Direction, This Is Us, which is just kind of it goes from their concert at Madison Square Garden, their first sold-out concert there, and it kind of goes behind the scenes and shows you who they are as a band. And then their most recent one was a South American tour date that they did, and it's just, it's a concert film. So it does a little bit of the background, but it's mostly just the concert that they performed in one of the South American countries. And then these are pictures of me and my friends that I went to go to the premieres with. This is the same group of girls that I've traveled around with to go see them everywhere that I have seen them. And so, this is One Direction. And there's so many reasons why One Direction is one of the most popular boy bands in history. Their humble beginnings, 3rd place ranking on X Factor, 4 Billboard #1 albums, and their 4 anticipated tours have made them into 5 very well-known boys, as well as 1 very well-known boy band. I've been very involved with this band since they've been created, and so I hope the information that I've provided you with can turn you into a Directioner as well. And thank you very much, and I'm going to show you my audience again.
Shelb, Garrett, whoops,
You can probably get in front of it now. If you
Jules, and me. All right.